Hey, hey, I'm Largo. This is The Lair, and we are here doing a special interview with some buddies of mine from the Axis of Awesome who've been putting out some kick-ass videos in the recent times. Got tongue-tied there. If you haven't been watching these guys, what are you doing with your life? And to help me ask the burning questions, my buddy Will's here. Hey, Will.
Hey, Jim.
Let's bring these guys in and pick some brains. Yeah, it's good to see you, buddy. So first off, we have the indomitable Adam from G.I. Joe: The Lost Chronicles.
Jim, Will,
and his
thanks for having me.
His part. You're very welcome. Good to see you. And his partner in crime, Jeff from Skunk Works Studios, also known as Beer 30 Central. Cheers.
Skull. Skull.
Very nice.
So, man, the first part of what is to be an epic series has already aired and was very cool. Very much. I mean, I can't say enough good things about how you guys put it together, the production value, the music, the all the little Easter eggs. Very cool stuff. And we're getting ready to see Jeff's premiere, so we'll be seeing what happens with old ORBITRON when he comes for his revenge. So we got a couple questions we want to ask you guys for the kids playing at home who aren't familiar. We'll run through that. Again, thank you guys for taking a few minutes to let us poke at you and see what you got cooking.
Yeah, appreciate being on here, Jim.
Thanks, man.
Oh, I always have fun when you guys come around because you've taught me a lot about the 1/6 scale and getting back into that corner of collecting. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. So as we said, Adam is from G.I. Joe: The Lost Chronicles. This is his his YouTube address. And we'll put that in the link in the description below. And Jeff also from Skunk Works Studios. Links are going to be in the description below, both for their pages and all their other good stuff, plus these two premiere videos that we're talking about. And Super Joe Reimagined is kind of the theme. These are both Super Joe kind of themed photo stories that you've done. And Super Joe is kind of a the ugly duckling of the Joe family in some ways. He's in that wilderness time from when Big Joe went off the shelves and Real American Hero hadn't quite made it yet. There was that 1 year in between where we got Super Joe. In case y'all don't know, Super Joe was kind of, how would you guys explain him? He was kind of like the answer to Star Wars and some of the other things that were in the culture right then and that point in the 70s.
Yeah, the adventure team was coming to an end. They wanted to continue the G.I. Joe line. In my opinion, they came up with Super Joe, which basically, I love the storyline behind Super Joe. I just think it was poorly executed. If they had done it in 1/6 scale, or even done it maybe in 3.5 inch, I think would have been far more successful than what they did.
I was thinking, because they were about 9 inches, if they had made them the same scale as Mego, which was still pretty popular in 77, I think that would have worked too. And I think that's kind of what they were going for. Will, are you familiar with Super Joe at all? Oh, go ahead.
The weird thing is like Adam was saying, I think they shrunk them down probably to save money. And
Yeah.
Super Joe was kind of at the end of its rope. They tried everything. They had the Mike Power and the $6 million man competition, and then I think they shrunk him down, honestly, to kind of compete with Mego, the superhero figures of Mego. But at the time, I think Mego was also getting ready to get into 3 3/4 because Buck Rogers. I think Mego did Buck Rogers, which was just around the corner. And if like Adam said, if Hasbro would have did their O-ring figures in Super Joe, I think it would have been a successful line, because then you could have based it all around the vehicles like they later on did with Real American Hero, and you might have had a hit. But I mean, we'll never know. It just faded off into obscurity, and they were so poorly made too.
I think that was another contributing factor. Was just it was so cheap. They didn't hold up like the Adventure Team. I don't and I lost my train of thought. But
I was going to say,
concept.
I haven't seen one of these originals that are still all in one piece. Every time you see them, even if they're sealed in the package, their limbs have come off because the elastic is gone. It's sad because
they used a lot of the same components of the muscle body figures from '76, and the plastic was substandard because of the oil embargo, and everything just fell apart, just like the toy line did.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I love the storyline. I love the characters. I love the villains. I think they were great. But like I said, it was just poorly executed, and it was all price point. It was all to save money, and it was just a complete failure.
And speaking of villains, the Intruders that were the villains for the Adventure Team, they scaled better with Super Joe. It's almost like, it's like, I don't know what they were thinking, but ultimately,
it was the writing was already on the wall for Hasbro at that point.
Yeah. We criticize Hasbro now. I criticize Hasbro a lot right now. But then you go back to the late '70s, and it was probably the same type of scenario. They just didn't know what the hell they wanted to do, and they didn't for a long time until Real American Hero came around. And
there was a kind of a kerfuffle with all the big companies, whether it be Ideal, Mattel, Hasbro. Star Wars caught them all with their pants down.
Oh yeah,
a lot of them passed on it when it was offered to them, and then when Kenner picked it up and ran with it, '78, they dominated, and everybody else was playing catch up for a little while.
Oh man, yeah,
absolutely.
So they definitely had to shuffle their cards and figure out how to come up with something. And we did get Real American Hero eventually out of that. So
like what, 4 years later, I think, right?
Yeah, I think it was
82.
Yeah,
82.
And if you look at
for guys who were into the guys who were into Micronauts or the Japanese Microman, we'd already seen some of that scale,
right?
But it not on the level that we did later. But
what's interesting about Real American Hero is if you look at the previous Joe lines dating back to '70 with the Adventure Team, you had your flocked-haired, bearded adventurer, then you had the flocked-headed Man of Action. Super Joe had the bearded commander, then they had the just regular no beard adventure Super Joe figure. And then the Real American Hero line had your bearded and your unbearded figures as well. Kind of weird theme that they kept going with every toy line.
Yep. You had Grunt, who was smooth shaven. You had Rock and Roll with rocking the beard.
Yep.
So
kind of weird.
Kind of a little homage there, a little bit.
Yeah.
Clutch always looked like the original Joe to me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The driver for the vamp. Yeah.
Yep.
He was that's him pretty much.
Yep. Yep.
But can you imagine if they'd done Super Joe in the 3.5 inch? It would have melded perfectly with the American Hero. Like Jeff said, they could have went around built it around vehicles. It would have been, I think, a good success.
You had Terron the Beast. Terron the Beast from Beyond would have scaled perfectly with 3 3/4.
Yeah.
That was the big. What was he, like a six-legged Stegosaurus thing?
Yep.
Yeah. I remember Gore, and I remember the evil clone Darkon.
Yep.
For Joe, this was kind of the the highlight of the line was their light feature. They all had like a flashlight on their chest harness that would interact with some of the other features with other figures. I don't even remember if that worked or not, because I only had like one or two of these guys.
To me, it was very gimmicky. I don't know. It just
I always found that when they push those gimmicks, usually it's at the cost of something else, like articulation or like accessories. And they're like, "Look, we're giving you this," but it's like, we didn't ask for it. We'd rather just have the good stuff.
Yeah, you ran into a lot. You ran into a lot of that type of stuff in the late '70s, because I'm a big fan of the Milton Bradley Starbird Avenger and Starbird Intruder.
Oh yeah,
and they had the light activated targeting systems, and I can remember my older brothers had a few different electronic deals as well. But yeah, I think that was a big thing in the late '70s, was to try to just up the price, but put the gimmick out there.
Yeah, look,
I
shiny.
was gonna say the Starbird. Yeah, the Starbird, when you tilted it, it would change the pitch of the engine too, wouldn't it?
Yes, it does. It's got a little ball in there. I took one apart recently. It's got a ball in there that moves back and forth, and I don't know if it completes a circuit. It has a thruster sound. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
but
that's pretty
but
cool.
you know, you're dealing with a spaceship, so you're expecting that.
Right.
Light, sounds, you know. So it
But
worked.
I don't think anybody had.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah, how
nobody
many
had
people
tried
know
to
that
do
has
that
a
before.
light coming out of their chest. I mean, most people know.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. It was kind of. I mean, I think it was kind of ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But yeah,
For sure.
at that time, it didn't work.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, so we can all agree that Joe definitely needed to be reimagined, and you guys have done that and more. And so let's talk about that. Let's pick your brain here for a second before we get to that. First of all, to you guys, Adam and Jeff, how did you move from going from collecting to customizing to deciding to do photo stories? Was it just kind of an organic thing, or?
Well, yeah, I first started my channel back in 2020 during the COVID pandemic, and everybody had more time on their hands. And I had been collecting for a while. I mean, I've been collecting for a while, and I was just on YouTube randomly looking at videos, and I came across one of Jeff's photo stories. And I'll never forget it. It was the creature from Doom Lagoon. And
Nice.
I'm watching it, and my mind is just blown. It's like, this is so awesome. And I said, I've got a collection. I said, I would love to do this. I think I can do this. So I reached out to Jeff. He didn't know me from anybody.
Nope.
He was very gracious, and he told me, you're going to want this kind of computer, and you can do this and this. And I went out the next day, bought me a MacBook Pro, and I still didn't know what the hell I was doing, and started, just making. I knew what the first story I wanted to do. It was Skinwalker, and went out, did it. Now it's hard to even watch that one because it's so horrible, in my opinion, and and I didn't know what I was doing. But it was fun, and I did 3, and then Jeff started promoting my channel and said, hey, check this guy out. He's got photo stories. They're kind of similar to mine. They're really cool. And we just struck up a friendship, and it just kind of started from there. But it all started from one of Jeff's videos.
Awesome.
Yeah. I started I would say probably 2011. I was on Facebook, and I was on the Facebook groups at the time, which I've left all those. I think I'm just a member of maybe 3 now. But I would go out and I would just take photo diorama shots with my figures, and I tried to tell a story with all the photos. So I started doing that a little bit, and then I started making things to go with them. So I started making these mummies. You can still probably find it on my channel. I have an alien mummies photo story. I started making these mummies, and then I moved on to making other things and posting photos and just doing these photo collage stories on Facebook. And they would never, I don't think they were ever very successful because the Facebook groups are kind of finicky. A lot of guys on there are just, I don't want to say douchey, but kind of douchey. So
yeah.
So I eventually decided to make a sea creature because I wanted to do a sea creature feature. So I built my own sea creature, And then I had it all done, did a photo story, put it on Facebook. And then I just kind of got tired of it. So then what I did is I just basically packed up shop, left Facebook around the same time COVID hit. And then when I was sitting at home during COVID, not doing anything, I started a YouTube channel. I actually started my YouTube channel in December of 2019. So this year will be my 5th anniversary this coming year. And I just started getting on my MacBook and looking around like, I wonder if I could make a movie with these. So I put the photos on there and I started shuffling them together, running them through a play, and then taught myself how to do it all. Then started adding sound. And then out of all that, the Creature of Doom Lagoon was born. And then I did it. I did it all in like probably 3 weeks. After work, every evening I would go out to the woods and do Doom Lagoon. And it was so funny because I had 3 locations, shot it all, put it on my MacBook. Of an evening, I would put it all together. Then I put it out there on YouTube. Nobody knew me. Nobody knew anything about me. I just started putting out my own content on YouTube. Got away from Facebook. Kept Instagram, and that's what I did. Then obviously Adam discovered me, and then I started doing more photo stories. I think the next one I did was the Sabotage of Spy Island.
Yeah.
And then the next one I did was a Super Joe one. Because I took a lot of Super Joe photos on
with the gorilla.
Right, the Revenge of the Super Gorilla. I did that in 3 days, and it was 30 degrees outside, but sunny. And I did it out on a farm and did that whole photo story. And then, they've gotten more complex. Adam can attest to this. Once you do like 2 or 3 of them, they just become more and more complex. So you got to start making stuff, and it just becomes an obsession.
Oh, it is. It's like a downhill snowball. Like I said, you do a few. You learn more tricks and techniques, and then you say, well, I really need this, so you can't buy it, so I'll just make something like for backdrops or props or equipment.
And it shows, man, because the creativity and the amount of detail you guys put into these is really. It transcends, do I collect this toy line? It doesn't matter. It's fun. You guys are having a blast, and I'm having a blast watching it. You know what I mean? So it's just like everything about it is it's great. And that's the thing, like when you were saying about Facebook groups, I know a lot of that it sucks the joy out of it. Let's just say our people do, because it becomes more about like I said, I posted something. I remember when I got back into collecting on a Facebook group, and I was just showing like, hey, this thing really meant a lot to me. I just found this toy, and it survived all these years. How much? Are you selling it? It's not worth much. It's broken. I was like, that wasn't the point. You missed the point completely over your head. I was just sharing my joy with you. And that's the difference between like posting on a Facebook group versus making your YouTube and putting it out there, because then you're sending that video out like a message in a bottle, and the people that do see the joy in it and do find the joy in it, they come and they find you, so it's funny. It's better.
When I was making Wild Man of Kathmandu, I really loved
Sorry guys, my electricity wigged out for a second, but
you're good.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, you're good.
Guatemalan gremlins, man, every time.
When I was making Wild Man of Kathmandu, I really, really loved that photo story, and I worked hard on it. I actually made a Yeti, a 1/6 scale Yeti, just for that photo story.
There I go again.
And I was out there. Yep.
Yeah, you're still in.
Yeah, you're still here.
I was out in the snow.
Sorry, guys, I'm slightly delayed.
You caught up?
Yep.
Are you good? All right.
You're good.
But I was out in the snow making that photo story, and I remember I was just taking shots, and I put some on Facebook, and I had ones with my troubleshooter in the snow, and there was no tracks behind it, like it had been running through the snow, and some dude decided to just give me the technical critique of all my photos, and I'm like, bro, I think I was like 4 years ago. I'm like a 45-year-old dude out in the snow taking photos. What are we doing here, man? What are you like? How
Well,
bad is your life that you have
just
to
sucking that
me?
joy right out of it? That's what it is, man.
It's like we tell them, we're not the Discovery Channel. Well, we're just one guy,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not.
And a collection. We're just having fun.
I'm not trying to make a freaking.
And I'd like,
film here, bro.
I like to say that there's, we're all collectors, and we have been in different corners of collecting where there's some what's a nice way to put it? People with anal cranial loop back, where they got their heads so far up their ass that you just don't want to hang with them.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
And then there's, guys like you. When I found the Axis of Awesome through you guys and Ed and seeing some of the stuff you guys are doing, it's not a contest. You guys aren't trying to one up each other. It's more of a collaboration. It's like, hey, I did this cool thing, and the next guy's like, yeah, I could do something like that. And then there's a good thing going, and I'm digging that.
I like to add to that. It is not a competition, but I can definitely tell you that we definitely motivate each other to do better and to make better content. And I got to tell you that I love making photo stories, but the crossover stories that me and Jeff do together, I probably enjoy those more than any others that I do. And this is our second one. I think it's going to be a tradition now with us to do one every year. But they're just a lot of fun. But it's not a competition. We love each other's work. But like I said, we push each other to do better.
Yeah, that's exactly true. Because it's like, there's times where I'll message Adam like, hey man, how did you do that effect? And he'll tell me, and I'll be like, cool, I'm gonna look that up because I need to add something to mine to make the story work better.
Yeah.
And we work as a team on all that. And it's like I said, it is like I always say this, and forgive me if I say it too much. I always say a rising tide raises all ships. And in our community, our Axis of Awesome community, which is turned into something completely different than what we probably really wanted it to be, but but the reality is it's where it is. You're only, in my opinion, you're only doing as well as the channel who's not doing well, because we want to raise that guy up and get him to a higher level, because when he's doing well, everybody else is doing well. Does that make sense? I mean, like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
And you have such a variety of, you got a variety of talent. You guys, you got guys who do 3D printing. You've got guys who do the photo stories like you do. You've got some guys that just do great toy photography and put it up on Instagram. But everybody's doing their thing, and it just works, and I like it.
Yeah, that's what I do.
It's like trickle down economics. Yeah,
yeah, it kind of is. Yeah. I don't. To be honest with you, I don't worry about what I don't worry about what anybody else is doing. I do, like, when I make a photo story, like if it's not me and Adam, I'm just making a photo story or video. I'm doing it. I watch it. If I like it, that's all that matters. I don't care about whether anybody else really likes it. Kind of like you, Largo, you and I were talking about my beer reviews. I don't really care whether anybody likes I've had some people leave some crappy comments before that you don't see, but I don't really care. Oh yeah. I don't really care whether you like it or not, because it's not for you. It's for me, and I think that's what a lot of these people who shit post, they don't understand is like, you're just commenting because you're not happy with yourself.
That's it.
It has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
That's it. And I think all the negativity first stems from jealousy, because they're not doing it, or they're too lazy or too stupid to do it. And they're miserable. They want you to be as miserable as they are.
Yeah.
But it's like, we're having fun,
Yeah.
And I can tell.
The moment I'm not having any more fun, I won't do it no more. But
that's the message I get, is we're having fun. We're out there, we're doing stuff. And like I said, compared to, just about any other content or, scales, seeing pictures of other people's cool toys is fun, because I like them and I can appreciate it. But seeing people enjoying them and sharing that joy with us is the message I get. It makes me smile. The whole time I was watching your video, I had a huge grin on my face, and I couldn't wait to see what was going to happen next. And then you used a little video effect or something like that, and I was like, yes, like it was
Well,
Nothing
Will, I got to tell you,
like that. You know what I mean? Like, so just showing
Yep.
your dolly off and saying, I got this and it cost me, $700, and I'm going to put him in a hermetically sealed case and no one will ever touch him. If that's your thing, that's great. But I definitely got that message that you guys were having a great time, and it made me have a good time. So thank you for that.
No, you know what? Thank you. I mean, I appreciate all those comments because, yeah, I mean, we're having fun and we want people to enjoy it and have fun too. And, maybe it brings back memories, from a child or memories you had or.
That's a point too, was that, so I don't specifically collect those figures or those dolls, right? That's not the thing I collect right now, but it didn't matter. It was not, because I wasn't watching it for that. You know what I mean? I was watching to see your creativity. Jim looks evil.
He does look evil.
Whoa.
I was going to say my power died again. Will, you have the con. If you guys just want to keep it rolling, I'll try to come back in as soon as I get the
sure.
Hey, we'll be here.
Those aliens, those freaking aliens got my buddy
Guatemala. So Zalem is rising up out of those ruins.
Yeah, for sure. So
Guatemalan
one of the things I wanted to ask you, because being someone observing from the outside of that collecting circle, did you guys find that these videos have kind of attracted an audience that's not quite into the dolls but are into the adventure? Have you seen any of that?
So. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's like you do a video and it's kind of like you're casting a wide net. You're not quite sure who you're going to catch. But definitely, I've had comments from people, maybe they're not collectors, but they think it's cool. They dig it.
Yeah, because you got some nostalgia. You got a lot of throwbacks to the day and age. So, people of our generation kind of see them and understand it. But, you don't have to be invested in the toys to enjoy the content, is what I'm saying. And it's just great.
Yeah, I've got a mix of people who have commented on a lot of stuff and followed me. Like, I've got people who aren't collectors but remember the adventure team really, really well, and like it brings back all these memories of playing when they were kids. I've had people who've just emailed me and they're like, I don't collect G.I. Joe at all, but I watched your video and all I could think of was like 8-year-old me in my backyard having the exact adventure that you put on there. And like and they're like, this is so awesome. I love this. I hope you do more. Or I'll get people. I've actually got people who I think have commented who are just like movie people who are like, hey, I really enjoyed this photo story. I love the pacing. I love the sound and all this stuff. Like, I can't wait to see what else. And then I've actually had people who've emailed me with advice saying, hey, I really love what you're doing. I do stuff. I make movies or whatever. You should consider doing this. And I'm like, that's really cool. Because
listen, if it makes your process easier or improves it, then that's great. And it's just adding to the situation rather than actually there were no tracks behind that snowmobile in the snow.
Yeah,
it's so much better.
Man.
But it's common human decency in a way too, which a lot of people on the internet, and we'll go back to like certain Facebook groups, you won't find that. People are just blunt and they just shoot stuff out, and it's like, hey, you want to say hi first or buy me dinner before you try that, But,
yeah.
Getting back to what Jeff said, like they'll see maybe a video like of the adventure team, and maybe they forgot about maybe some toys they had as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, I remember having that as a kid.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. You'll get people who will watch our channels and they'll just absolutely start collecting again. We're like Largo.
Oh yeah,
launching the
AT-76 enablers. Absolutely.
Yeah. We're like
I'm watching him, and I'm like, caution, because he shows me stuff, and I'm like, that is really cool.
We're like gateway.
It's a disease. It really is.
Yeah, we're like the gateway drugs to collecting.
I know all about that. So the next question Jim had here was, when did you learn about Super Joe? And, how did you decide to reimagine that into the 1/6 line? Because we talked earlier about kind of the shortcomings of the line, because it was a cool character, cool story. And guess what? Toy companies aren't making that, so we need some heroes to take it upon themselves to make that happen, right? Is that pretty much
when that next month I'm going to be 60. So I mean, I'm a child of the 70s. Like I said, I loved Super Joe. I loved the storyline, the uniforms, the villains. I thought was very cool. But I thought for me, I would have loved to have it at 1/6 scale. And then, I got the idea from Jeff, taking Max Steel muscle bodies and modifying them for Super Joes. They work great. I know Jeff's got a ton of them. I personally have made maybe like 8 or 9, and I've used the Grunga Toy outfits. They're great. And, for me, they work as 1/6 scale. And I know when, me and Jeff did the crossover story last year, Quantum Conspiracy, and the beginning of this year, we were talking and we wanted to do another photo story. And I said, I would love to do something with our Super Joes. And Jeff said, yeah, that's a great idea. So he came up with a storyline. But yeah, I love the Super Joes.
Yeah, I love it.
And this here was genius. I still don't know how you made it, Jeff, but that.
Oh yeah, they take a while. I've discovered Super Joe when I was probably, I would say 12 or 13. My mom and me were at Walden Books, and I got I don't have it handy here. Oh, I do. Hold on, I'll show it to you.
Oh, nice.
I might have it here. Hold on here.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
It's this is one of them. This isn't the exact one, but I got this G.I. Joe field guide.
Oh, nice.
Okay. And it covers all the G.I. Joe stuff. And I saw Super Joe in there and I had no clue what it was. And I kind of just researched a little bit, but at the time we didn't have the internet, so you really couldn't really find out a lot about it. So I just kind of put it off to the side, didn't worry about it. And several years later, I would say probably the early 2000s, I ran into one at a convention. And there was no way to, I thought they were kind of cool, but there was no way to repair them. Like nobody knew anything about restringing them at the time. There really wasn't that much stuff to do it. So they were kind of just junk and castaways. And then eventually, I think it was around I think Felipe and I were talking about it. It was like 2016, maybe. He had came over here to sell his super suits at a G.I. Joe convention. And I had saw those on, I think, Facebook. And I reached out to him in a message, and he was down in Florida, I think, at the G.I. Joe convention down there. And he said, hey, I said, I would like to have a couple of these. And he's like, I'll send those to you. So I PayPal'd him, and he mailed them to me from Florida before I went back to Brazil. So I got my first 2 original super suits, which is the black one and then the red one. And then I didn't have anything to put them on, right? So I had nothing to put them on, and I didn't want to put them on the Cotswold bodies because I'm sorry, I know I'm at the risk of upsetting some people. The super suits don't look good on the Cotswold bodies. No. It's like they're too skinny. They don't fill it out. They don't look good. The boots don't look right. So I was sitting in my workshop, and I had this giant tub of action figures my nephews gave me. And I was looking at the Max Steel Ultra Action body. And I looked at the neck post, and I said, damn, that looks almost like a muscle body neck post. So I grabbed the Dremel, cut his head off, took out the little plastic knob in there and looked at it. And then I grabbed a muscle body neck post, stuck it on there and said, shit, I think this will work. So then I took a zip tied it on there temporarily, put a G.I. Joe head on it, threw the super suit on. And that was how and I think Felipe both and I talked about it. That was how the Super Joe body was born. I think I was the first guy that did that. And
I was going to say, we like calling those your Franken Joes.
Franken Joes, you coined that.
You got your workshops, kind of like the mad scientist laboratory there, and you got parts here and there. And I love watching you work when you're tinkering.
You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs.
Right. So then I had to change out the hands because they had the big ham hands. So I took the hands out, and then I put a set of Action Man reproduction hands I got from Cotswold in there, and I had those in there, and that's kind of how that whole figure was born. And I just threw I think Hall of Fame boots on them because they fit really well in those tiny little feet.
Yep.
And that's how my
suit was great. And the Max Steel bodies are really a durable figure.
Oh, yeah,
they're a great figure, much better than a Joe muscle body figure.
Oh yeah, they're great. They're great.
Yeah, and even though we've had kind of a dry spell of any new product in 1/6, you've got things like, oh yeah, looking good.
Yeah.
You've got Cotswold collectibles. You've got a couple of other third-party brands, guys who are 3D printing accessories and stuff. So and then there's still all the old stuff that you can recycle, whether it be boots or some of the uniforms you can bring back and resew or fix up. The sky's the limit as far as customization. You can do all kinds of cool stuff, and you guys have definitely shown us some really cool ideas.
Yeah.
I had some questions. Let me see if I can pop those back up.
The last question, which was, what other pop culture characters would you like to include or make photo stories about that you haven't, touched?
Adam, go first. Adam's got a lot of stuff.
Oh, well, first of all, the Mystery Inc. Scooby-Doo team, I did those. I'm looking forward to doing, actually, I'm working on one now, photo story that. The Johnny Quest figures I did.
For sure,
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. I mean, those two are two of my favorite cartoons growing up as a child. And it just worked out that, I think I can make him out of Joe's. And I got some inspiration from Jim over at Sergeant Soldier, because he had done a Shaggy. It's like, you know what? That looks really cool. I think I'm going to make the whole team. So I did.
They look really good.
Now
they really do. They look great.
Yeah, they look great.
Yeah.
Your villains look freaking spot on.
They came out really good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to actually doing some photo stories with those. I think it'll be fun. I know there's a huge Scooby-Doo following. I think that might pull some more viewers to my channel.
Yeah. That's actually a really good thought. Yeah.
But it's fun. I love Scooby-Doo. I love the original series.
Yeah.
It makes me happy. It makes me happy.
It really does. It's just a good time. Yeah.
And you want to do Johnny Quest too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've got the whole Johnny Quest team. I've got Haji and Johnny, and I did a review. I found this. It's a Big Jim Sky Commander, which I didn't even know they made. I did a review on that. That's coming up. I think.
Yeah, I saw that.
I found that in New York, and I think I'm going to use that for the Dragonfly Johnny Quest jet for inside shots of them inside the jet. It's pretty cool. Like I said, I didn't even know it existed. I knew Big Jim had the Big Jim camper and other accessories, but I didn't know they had a Sky Commander. Did you know they had a Sky Commander, Jeff?
No, I might have seen it in passing, but it's like they have a dojo too, like a kung fu dojo, and I didn't even remember that at all either.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I've got a photo story coming out in 2024. If the world doesn't end. And I've got two I consider to be famous pop culture icons in my photo story.
Okay.
So that's like a little bit of a sneak
a little tease there. All right.
Tease.
It's a huge tease.
Yeah, I think that it's going to blow people's minds in a way. They're going to be like, holy smokes, that's wild. I wouldn't mind doing a photo story with all my son's Shogun Warriors. I have a really cool intro monologue written for a photo story I want to do when he gets older. I want when he learns how to read and, you know, coherently complete sentences that aren't like, you know, I would like him to read the intro monologue for this photo story. And by that time, I think I'll be able to figure out how to execute the photo story well enough, because I think it's going to be really, really cool.
I think just the idea of that sounds
it's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, because I dreamed this up in the shower 4 years ago, like how I wanted to do this photo story. And I've got it written down. I've got each act figured out. I've got all the stuff ready to go, like how I want to do it. I just need the time to be right. And I need to figure out a couple important scenes in it, how I want to shoot them.
Well, I think,
but I really want to make
like
this one
with your boy is going to be amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be a cool legacy.
Yeah, I just want to make that one because I really think, and it's not going to be very long either. It's maybe going to be 5 or 6 minutes, but it's going to be a compelling, interesting photo story. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, you know?
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's everything that, you know, Jim had prepared there. We're going to see if he could get back in. I know he lost power, which is pretty unfortunate. And, you know,
He
it's
jinxed himself.
Yeah, I think he did, because he did say everything's great right before the stream.
Oh my God, this is awesome.
He black catted himself.
Yeah, famous last words. But, you know, one other question, and it's the one that I kind of talked to you guys about a little bit in the beginning there, and which was, you know, I had a couple. Wait, what was the question? I can't remember. I'm blanking now. It was for you guys, because I'm kind of more of like an outside observer, and I'm looking in, and that is the creativity and, you know, details that you guys put into it. I think is fueled by the lack of a market for the 1/6 scale stuff at this time. So in 2023, we don't really see a lot of it. You know, I'm really into the 1/18 scale. Jim prefers the 1/12 scale. But, you know, we all kind of come together. And for a while, I felt like you guys, because I was in these chats and talking to my friends, and they're all getting excited and hooting and hollering about these 1/12 scale figures. And I'm kind of just like, I see them. They're cool. I can appreciate them. And I enjoy your joy, but I want my little guys, you know, those are my favorites. So, I started my own show about 1/18 scale. You know, that's how it was born, because no one else was talking about it. So I'm like, well, I'm going to talk about it, and let's see if I got any, you know, friends out there. Do you guys find that? I think that does that make you guys more creative? The fact that there's not so much stuff to just, you know, be able to buy and lean on. You guys have to stand on your own and kind of like, you know, necessity is the mother of invention. You know, you guys really do go the extra mile when it comes to, like I said, creativity and, you know.
I think absolutely necessity does fuel creativity, because, you know, there are cool things that you can buy that you need for your photo story, but there's some things that you're just not going to be able to get. And to make it work, you're going to have to make it.
Yeah.
But I tell you, collecting Joes, you know, making custom figures and stuff, building props is almost as much fun as that combined for me.
It is.
Yeah. I love building props. When you build it, it looks great, and then you start to photograph it, and it photos really well. It's exciting. It's like, man, I made that, and it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the 1/6 scale stuff for me, I think, you know, there's a heavy military influence in a lot of the stuff you see now. A lot of your higher end 1/6 scale is either movie memorabilia stuff, a little bit of pop culture, and then like strictly all military. And, you know, I used to chase military figures a long time ago, but I've kind of gotten over all that, because you're so saturated with it after a while that you have a craving for the unknown and a craving for adventure, which I think is what made the adventure team so popular.
Yes.
Especially in the era that it was released. And I think we're in the same era now. And I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of I watch a lot of shitty movies, listen to a lot of podcasts, and that's where I draw a lot of inspiration from. Mainly probably podcasts and maybe Instagram people I follow, like Lost History, stuff like that. And I think we're at a time, in my opinion, in this country, in this world, where there is a hidden history that's out there that people don't talk about, and we all want to know, UFOs or lost civilizations or whatever. And why not have action figures geared towards that?
Absolutely.
And you talk, I think it's a no-brainer too, because I know there's a lot of, they don't want war toys, is what they'll call them, like the companies don't feel comfortable putting out war toys. I think the Jurassic Park stuff they do in the 3 3/4-inch line is great. Those aren't war toys. They're, but why haven't they taken that same mentality that they did in the 70s when they transitioned to, they can make adventure vehicles, adventure play sets, research labs, all kinds of great stuff in the 3 3/4-inch scale or 4-inch scale. And, I think it would do really well. But that's just my opinion, and
I agree. I don't think they know how to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you like I told you guys earlier, if you watch the Hasbro Pulse live stream, there's nothing there. There's nothing there.
They're not trying to innovate or capture imagination or even creative. They're just banking on nostalgia.
And get back to what Jeff said. I'm kind of over the military stuff too. I love the adventure team. That's why I love making my cryptids, because I'm huge cryptids, aliens. I love all that stuff. And to me, they're perfect adversaries for the adventure team.
Right.
They go mesh perfectly. And those are figures that I wish you could buy. I wish companies would make really cool, cryptids, aliens, weird things that you haven't seen before. But I love making those, and like Jeff said, I wish they would, get on board and make some really cool figures, because I think it would do really well.
I don't think Hasbro is willing to take a chance anymore. I mean, the majority of their money comes from licensed products, right? Marvel, Star Wars. And I don't think, first of all, I don't think the creativity's there. If it is there, they're not going to want to take the chance to have a brand new G.I. Joe line, fresh G.I. Joe line. And then I also think that they just know that they'll make money off classified. I mean, I watched the live stream and I look in the comments, and I'm in conspiracy theorist. Jeff's like, half these comments are people who are probably paid by Hasbro or given inside information and put on their YouTube channel or their Instagrams to say, "Oh my God, this is the best thing in the world." Yeah. And I don't believe any of those people. I don't believe how you can legitimately sit there and say this is the greatest toy line ever.
Yeah, no, I think they're like political, protesters. They're actually paid.
Yeah, they're just paid to get on there. And
well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's beyond me. And I'm going to get on my soapbox here real quick. It's beyond me how a company who preaches all this diversity, inclusive stuff and woke values turns around and capitalizes on a war toy. That's what G.I. Joe is. I don't give a shit if they're fighting Cobra or the Russians. Yeah. It's still a war toy that glorifies violence. And it's funny how you talk out of both sides of your mouth.
Yeah, they don't want to acknowledge it, but it's been their bread and butter for a long time. But they won't say it, they won't put that on their, so it's kind of stupid. They should either just embrace it for what it is, or not.
Well, and I think they whitewashed, sanitized it. Violence. It's well,
Well, if you look at the first initial launch of Classified, the guns in that line were laser guns.
Yeah.
And everybody shit on those.
They were not.
Yeah, and everybody shit on that line so hard.
Yeah.
That now you see what they're doing. They're like, well, we gotta give them what they want. We're just gonna give them 1/12 versions of G.I. Joe. That's all they're doing.
So I think there's, kind of two parts of it. But one thing I see looking into the 1/6 scale kind of community, if you want to call it that, or world, is I see a lot more camaraderie. I can't say words. Camaraderie, but
yeah,
it's more about the joy of collecting, the exploration of it, just creativity and expressing yourself that way. And maybe some of the other scales, and I'm not going to say it's more about just acquiring stuff maybe and getting the latest, just getting the latest thing. And Hasbro's met that with just pumping it out. They're just pumping it out. There's so much stuff coming out, and some people really can't even keep up with it. But there's nothing holding that together. It's just stuff for the sake of being stuff, rather than stuff kind of pulled together and creating something. I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of there's like a lot of people kind of splitting off into little subgroups, and oh, if you buy these toys, you must do this, and if you buy these toys, then you're not part of my group. I don't see it in your community. Do you guys have any drama other than, I know you have some purists, right? That don't want you to cut.
We got zealots for sure.
Yeah. But Will, you are absolutely correct. I mean, the 1/6 scale is a special group of people. It's kind of hard to describe. I mean,
yeah,
we all get along great. I mean, you do have purists and stuff. Like, you have some people who don't want to take stuff out of the box, or or it's got to be all vintage. Me, I could give a rat's ass. I mean, I like vintage, but I'm a kit basher. I'll put reproduction stuff with vintage. I don't care. I'm just having fun with it. If it's good for a photo story, I'm good.
Yeah, I just want to make stuff that I think's cool, that I want. That's what I love about the 1/6 scale in general, is that I can take one GI Joe, and I hate to say it's like Barbie. Barbie, you have a bunch of different options for Barbie. Same thing with GI Joe. I can take one GI Joe. I can have mission gear for any type of mission: snow, jungle, desert, underwater, all that. I've got a ton of stuff behind me just in boxes. You can't do that with any other scale. Maybe
the 1/6 scale is just
like a Mego type scale, maybe. But
yeah, they had kind of that thing. But yeah, you're right. That is one of the things. And the thing that I always loved about, my 1/6 scale when I was a kid was just the outfits, the accessories were just so plentiful and so detailed. And the little toolbox opened up and you could put stuff in it, and just, you can't really do that in the smaller scale. So I totally understand that. There is a joy you get from, all that really nice detail.
It is. The 1/6 scale was just so special. I mean, me as a person, I see everything in 1/6 scale. Like, let's say you've got a favorite Joe. He can become anything you want. You can take the clothes off, put, if he's a jungle outfit, you can take it off. You can put a winter uniform on him. He can have an Arctic adventure. You can take that off. He can do a deep sea diving
adventure. The thing too was kind of like, you were making the Joe for the adventure.
Yes.
You were equipping him for the adventure. It wasn't tied in. They didn't tell you, this is this guy and this is this guy, and they hate each other for whatever reason, and he has to go this way and do that. It's like, here's a canvas. Have fun.
Yes.
Whatever your imagination.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. Yeah, you had to use your imagination to make the adventure. Yeah, you had the gear, but you had to actually take the gear, put it on, accessorize what he would need for that adventure. Yeah, I mean, you don't get that with other scale. I mean, to me, you don't.
I think Hasbro is missing out on an amazing opportunity right now to get into a brand new market that nobody's in right now, and that's adventure exploration. And I think I told this with Pat and Elite Action Joe in my last live stream. You've got a whole generation of kids who went over for the last 20 years and fought a war on two fronts for nothing. They come back, blown off limbs, PTSD, all that stuff. why not have a brand new reimagined version of Mike Power as a soldier who was over in Iraq or Afghanistan, lost his legs to an IED, and then they had a brilliant doctor at DARPA build him a brand new set of legs and arms, and he becomes a core member of the G.I. Joe adventure team who goes on special missions. And you could even you could even bring back the Inhumanoids. Remember that failed toy line of the 80s?
Sure.
That would have fit in with the adventure team perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
And you could have all these former military, you could have a whole team of adventurers, former military, who now are trying to change the world by doing stuff. But they can't do it because they know that it's a chance, and they're so worried about failing.
That's the problem.
And I think that would be a great storyline.
Yeah. Oh,
well,
yeah,
guys,
that's a great storyline.
I haven't heard back from Jim, so
okay.
I'm going to say, let's go ahead and talk about, well, we have your big premiere coming up.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about that, because we talked a lot about, the previous episode. It was awesome. Had a great time. What are we going to see tonight? I'm not sure when this is going to air, but when we see the next episode, what do we have in store for us?
Well, you saw, like, I had a nice description in it. You've got a continuation of the photo story. Now, mine is it takes place several years in the future. Super Joe, obviously, he's moved on. He's retired, and a new threat emerges, and he's got to be called back into action one more time. Back in the saddle, and it's going to be a great. It's going to be a great story, and it is a great follow-up to Adam's awesome story, right? When we first discussed this photo story, I can remember we were talking about it, and Adam wanted to do a Super Joe story. I had bought ORBITRON, and I thought I bought ORBITRON to do that photo story, like as the villain. And I told Adam all about it, and we pitched it to each other, and then he made his first part. We kind of had a bare bones story. The Kiss storyline was something we discussed, and you jumped in there with the Kiss figures. You bought the Kiss figures, and then I sent him a picture of a guy that I thought would look really cool to paint up. What was that guy's name? Athosius?
Yeah, Athosius.
Athosius, yeah, Athosius. And it was the way he described it to me when he was making it. It turned out it was even better than that. The way it all, and then he added Superman in there, which is like it was like it was.
I loved it.
It was great. It was great. So mine's a good follow up, I think.
More of that. That's
be awesome. It's toned down, but it's also, I think, it's way different than Adam's.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, Adam, you've seen it. How would you describe it?
It is different, but they mesh perfectly.
Perfectly.
Great.
Like it's a great follow up to it.
Yes.
Well, that's awesome.
I mean, we both seen each other our videos to compare and tweak a little bit. They mesh perfectly. It is different. It does take place in the future.
Right.
It's amazing. It's an amazing story. Awesome special effects. You guys are going to love it.
Yep.
And after this is done, I'm going to make a little follow-up video. The escape, Orbitron's escape from the Phantom Zone.
Yeah.
So we'll figure out how that happened and how he gets where he's at.
I look forward to it. Thank you guys so much for doing what you do. Yep. It's so much fun, and what I would love to hear, in the future is just that, you guys attracted an audience that's not even into toy collecting, and they just want to be entertained and have fun because that's what you guys are doing. So, we will put links to the videos in the description below when this airs. And I can't thank you guys enough for hanging out and talking with us. I'm real sorry, Jim's,
anytime.
Gremlins. Maybe we need an adventure team to head down to Guatemala and figure out what's going on down there. It could be certain mutant roosters, tapping into the power supply and draining the things. I don't know what's going on, but with that, I will play us out. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, everyone watching. And Jim, I'm sorry you couldn't be here, man. We really wanted you to come back.
We miss you.
Jim, we appreciate it so much. It was a lot of fun.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Wilhelm.
Well, that was a great interview. Thanks to Adam and Jeff and Will. And apologies for the ongoing power outages and issues. People who watch the layer know that this has become a common occurrence. We're having problems either with our electrical grid and or our internet services. So it's an ongoing problem. But like the phoenix of old, we shall arise from the ashes. So thanks for your patience. Thanks for watching this interview. And I encourage you again to go to the channels of our buddies, Adam at G.I. Joe, The Lost Chronicles, and Jeff at Skunkworks Studios. These guys are doing some awesome stuff, not just in the realm of the Super Joe, but also other things that are 1/6 scale adjacent, you know, whether it be Johnny Quest, Scooby-Doo, Shogun Warriors, it's all out there between these two guys. They're doing some fun stuff. So check out some of their other videos, including some how-tos on making some customs of your own. And definitely with Jeff, if you are a fan of the ale, he does a cool show called Beer 30, where he tries out some different beers and lets you know what's worth checking out. So anyway, love both these guys, really enjoy their channels, and just want to promote what they're doing there. So again, I will reiterate, check out The Time Phantom on Adam's channel, and also The Revenge of ORBITRON on Jeff's channel. Links, again, are going to be in the description below. Check them out and tell your friends. Tell people to check this out. There's a lot of great stuff there. If you're fans of, you know, 70s and 80s Easter eggs and groovy music and good storytelling, you're not going to go wrong with either one of these videos or anything else on these guys' channels. So thanks again to our guests. And thanks to you for putting up with the shenanigans of the gremlins here in Guatemala. Have a good one if you can. And I will see you in the very near future.